If you're a beginner and you need some help with acrylic application and need some tips and tricks, keep on watching. Okay, so let's get started. So you guys, I thought it'd be a great video to kind of explain how to deal with and take clients, because I'm sure that was the scariest part for everyone, especially me. It was hard to get started, but I've been doing this for a while now, so I thought I'd share some tips and tricks with you guys. As you can see, when the client came in, all I did was trim her nails with a clipper, etched my file so I don't cut her. Make sure you do that every time. And I started using my 100/180 grit file to file down the extra length that was still on her nails, just so that we have less nail on there. Especially when you do acrylic nails, you kind of want to cut them down as much as possible. But then you want to go ahead and take your file just to even it out a little bit. So the next part is we push back the cuticle. This is a part of the prepping process. You remove the shine so that you have a good adhesion when you want to apply acrylic, and you have a longer longevity of the nails so that they last for a while. Majority of my clients do tend to keep them on for 3 to 4 weeks. Could be more. I've had people come back 2 months after, so it's all about prep and good product and good skills. So you want to remove as much of the shine. You go underneath that cuticle right there under that skin. Technically, you're going underneath the eponychium and removing the dead cuticle that may be stuck to the nail plate that will basically prevent you from having longevity. So what you want to do is remove it so that you do have longevity with your clients and their nails actually last, and the acrylic will have something to adhere to, something rough. Now, the next thing we're doing is we are asking the client, what type of shape would you like? Then we can differentiate which nails to choose from. So she did say she wanted almond, and I do usually use these different nails for almond, but I ran out. Have to go to the nail supply store and pick them up, but these worked amazing. This was my second set of almond nails, I think, for that week, and I use these tips, and it's really easy because they're basically square. You could turn square into anything, and all you really have to do is apply the tips. But we're measuring them from sidewall to sidewall and making sure before we add the glue that they match or that they fit perfectly, because once that glue is there, they're stuck. So you want to make sure you put the finger as straight as possible so that when you're placing the nail tip, you don't have any crooked fingers or crooked nails, because that is not going to look good and your client's going to be able to tell. And you want to aim for basically put yourself in their shoes and what would please you and what wouldn't. Don't be the type of nail tech that you really don't care, because your clients will be able to tell how much passion you have in your career and how much you care about them and their nails and the money that they spent. Now, after the application of the nail tips, we're going to go ahead and cut it. I'm using these magnets that I got off Amazon, and these magnets are actually really helpful with the size. I kept taking off the magnets to see what length she liked, and she would say no, that's too long, so she ended up saying 3, which is a medium. So if it's more than, I believe, 2, I think it's 0 and 1 magnet is short, 2 and 3 is medium. So she did say 3, but then she noticed that they were long. You're gonna see afterwards, because well, once I shaped them into the almond, she kind of decided to change it, but you'll see that in a little bit. I'll explain that later. But as of now, we just are going with her 3 magnets, cutting them down, looking to see if they're evened out. But I really like this method because usually it's more accurate. So now that we cut them down to her desired length, we're going to go ahead and take a curved clipper, because it does give you a more almondy effect than if you were to use a straight edge clipper. If you were to use a straight edge clipper, that would be more better for if you're trying to pre-shape the stiletto shape, but this has a rounder shape like an almond, so it tends to look more like an almond. And we're just taking out a little bit. You don't want to go too deep in there. You want to take your time, eyeball it, and see, like, okay, you know, because if you cut too much, you're going to have to replace the nail. You don't want to do that. So cut less and worry about shaping it later. So now that we did that, we're gonna shape them up more perfectly. So we're going side to side, making sure we're not taking too much off each side, but evening them out properly. And then you're also kind of going underneath, because as soon as you start filing the tips, some of that tip kind of like starts shaving off at the bottom, and you want to remove it to make sure you can see that you're shaping it properly. So I really love doing it this way. I know some people use a drill to pre-shape it, which is fine. Do whatever. Just make sure that you are evening them out perfectly, and you're not taking your time. Basically, you have to try to take your time, especially if you're a beginner, because people think like the most important thing is speed, and it's not. It's more about precision and trying to do your best at getting the perfect shape. There's no such thing as perfect, I know, but try to get as close, because some people are very picky and then some people are not. Some people are very like, you could do something really basic and they are stunned. So it really depends. Who are you pleasing? You never know. Try to do your best every single time. So here's when she decided, I think they're still too long, so I don't mind. Don't be rude to your clients. Go ahead and cut it down a little bit. Not a big deal, seriously. I've been seeing videos online where the nail techs get mad, like the Asian chop shops, and basically like those little worst reviewed nail salons. And it's like any little thing the client says they get mad about, which is so horrible, because they're spending their hard-earned money, just like they're working hard for the money. And the fact that they're not listening to the client tells me they just don't care, and they really shouldn't be doing that as a career. But yeah, you want to please them. You don't obviously want people to step on your toes either, so try also be upfront and as blunt as possible in the sweetest way you can be, because people are more understanding than you think. If you don't ever have a understanding client, you don't want that client anyway. Most of my clients are literally like I feel like they're like my best friends, because I feel like we connect so well. So the better you connect with your clients, you guys, the funner your job will be, the more happier you'll be when you go to work. And you're not really going to deal with people you don't want to deal with, especially if you work for yourself. I know it's hard when you work in a salon, but if you're in that situation, then just put your Kanye smile on and try to make a name for yourself so that you can get out and take your own clients. So yeah, so here we're just blending the tip, you guys. I am going to be talking in between, telling you what I'm doing when I can, and throwing in some verbal tips, because I feel like I'm gonna be uploading more videos and you're gonna be learning a lot more either way if I miss something. So don't worry about it. We're gonna catch up to everything, so that if you're really having a hard time with beginning, especially with taking your first client or your first year doing nails or your first month, whatever it is, I'm here to help. So after we blended the tip, we are removing the dust. But the reason we basically have to blend the tip is to make it as smooth as possible for the application. And there's like all the side walls are flushed and everything, and the natural nail and the fake nail or the tip are basically flushed together, so it literally looks like she has real nails right here, if you can see that. But anyway, we're adding primer. We're adding Young Nails primer, and this is really important. You don't want to forget the primer. Young Nails primer has been my favorite since I basically started doing nails. And we're going to do 2 coats of these, you guys, because that is, I believe, the instructions. I've been doing it for so long that I just do 2, but I'm pretty sure I've probably heard it somewhere, maybe on the Young Nails channel. But you do have to use 2. If you use 1, you'll probably be okay, but don't worry. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and start the application. The color that I'm using is Princesita, or Princesita with an accent, from Valentino. I'm gonna try and add everything in the description if you guys are interested in anything that I'm using. I know my nail brush is from C&D, and I got that at Cosmoprof, which is somewhere if you have to have a license for in the cosmetology world. So if you do, you can cop the brush. I actually really like it, and I think like I said, I think it's a number 12. But for the acrylic application, you guys, I'm taking a bead. I'm actually putting my brush into the liquid grabbing some of the product. If you don't know how to apply very well, you gotta like really practice your beads. There's no way around that. You have to practice, fill it out. It's kind of like when you first start driving, you want to fill out the car before you actually learn the basics of the car, because you don't even know how to move the car. So you want to learn how the acrylic molds and everything before you start trying with the application. Once you get the beads and you're like, okay, I think I got this, you want to make sure that you are being as clean with your brush and everything like that, because that is a big key in your acrylic application. You want to make sure you're keeping your brush clean. So as you can see, I'm wiping, I'm removing it on the paper towel, wiping, going on the paper towel, going in the liquid. Sometimes going back in the liquid cleans the brush a little better, and sometimes going back into the liquid after wiping, of course, helps with the molding of your acrylic if it's drying too fast. It depends in your room too. If you're new, maybe you won't know this, but if you've been doing nails for a little bit, then you know that the temperature in the room has a lot to do with acrylic application, how wet it is, and how hard it will dry, or how slow it will dry. So for me, I don't want it too hot, I don't want it too cold in the room, because too hot will make it set too fast. Too cold will take forever to start, like, let me mold it. So somewhere in between. I don't remember. I know there is a specific temperature, so I'll try to find that if I can insert it somewhere. If not, just make sure you go and looking for that just in case. But play with the temperature in the room as well. If you feel like it's too wet, you know, go ahead and turn your AC up a little bit to make it a little bit warmer in the room. Or if it's, you know what I mean, if it's too cold, it's too cold. So you gotta bring the temperature back up. I think I said that right. I don't even know, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. Cold means slower, hotter, too quick a dry. All right, but this color is beautiful. This is actually the same color I'm wearing on my nails, because she asked me, what's your pinkest cover? And I told her, oh, I have this one from Valentino. So I do have different ones from Valentino, and then I have my main squeezed cover pink from Young Nails, because it goes with everyone literally. So yeah, but I thought, well, there's so many cover acrylics now, and people are looking on Instagram, and more than likely they're you know, specific brands. So I thought, like, oh, having different Valentino nudes wasn't a bad idea. And it hasn't been, so it's been actually pretty useful. But you know, if you have more variety, you got to make sure you keep all of that in stock. So if not, you should learn to really mess with colors and stuff. If you are a beginner nail tech, you have to start understanding primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors, because say I didn't have this color, I would know exactly what colors to mix to give her what she wants. So back in the day when I was new, obviously my acrylic collection wasn't as big as now, but if a client wanted a specific color, I would literally be there mixing it and, you know, playing around with colors, even if clients weren't around me, just so that I would have the knowledge of an emergency, just in case like the client came in and she didn't have this. I would mix a hot pink, I would mix a little bit of white, maybe some milky white, and I would mix a little bit of another cover. Maybe I would use cover pink to get this pink. So I would use a couple colors to get this pink. And honestly, you guys, I would match it almost to the T, where like the client was like, oh my gosh, you're so good, and they feel grateful that you care that much. Because sometimes, I don't know, I feel like when you don't care about your job, you're not gonna care to please the customer. When you care, you have a passion for it, it makes your job easier, and you are willing to do it a lot more. Alright, you guys, since I didn't explain the acrylic application that I'm doing, everybody does acrylic application different. So this is the way I'm doing it. You guys are seeing. I go into the liquid. I grab some product. I place it 3/4 of the way up and let gravity help me and feather it down a little bit so that we're not losing too much product and most of the product is staying there. You can remove some of the product if you added too much, but my second bead is going right on top of that one. Why? I'm trying to build the apex, at least the way I do it. Some people do their apexes different. Like I said, do what works for you. No shame in the game as long as they're lasting. You're finishing it's not taking you too long to finish. I took maybe, how long did I take with this set? I believe it was 2 hours and 15 minutes. The appointment I had with her was 2 hours, but I did pass by 15 minutes, and that usually happens when you didn't practice the design. But anyway, that's beyond the point. As you can see, when I get closer to the cuticle, I start cleaning around it, making sure my brush is clean when I clean, adding a little bit more product if need be. But every time I add product, I keep sealing the cuticle. See? So that way there is no acrylic touching the skin. Either way, with the e-file and you go with your drill bit, you go ahead and seal it either way. But it makes your job easier when you go in to seal it if you clean up with the brush while you're applying it. Afterwards, you can take your 100-180 grit file, which I get on Amazon. I get a lot of things on Amazon. I'll try to link everything down below that I used in the video, but I got my file and started reshaping the nails. As soon as you shape the nails with the tips and you add acrylic, they start not looking the same. They bulk up a little bit more, and obviously you want to perfect the nail as much as possible. So to make sure you're saving time and you're doing your job correctly, you have to reshape the nail. After you reshape the nail, then you can go in with your drill bit and you can go and smooth the nail out, remove some product, and bring the nail down a little bit to make it look a little bit more natural. But it is important to reshape the nail first. And I'm just showing you guys on one of her hands, but basically we're doing this whole process the same on the other hand. Same thing with your thumb. You go to the sides first, go underneath, because a lot of the times there's still product underneath that nail when you applied your acrylic. And you could obviously always go with your drill and clean up under there, but if there's not too much product, you just want to use your file to remove any excess acrylic under there. I'm checking it from angles, you guys. Make sure you're looking at angles. Put the finger sideways. Look at it from on top, look at it at the bottom, especially sideways. When you put the finger sideways, you could tell. So like I said, you want to shave down some product, smooth it out. This is a fine bit, and this is what I like to use most of the time. I used to use a lot of mediums, but for some reason, I think as my application got better, I just use fine. But I still have some medium bits, so sometimes I do use them as well. I don't know if I mentioned what kind of bit. I think it's a PANA bit from Amazon. Anyway, as you can see, I'm getting closer to this one. I'm shaving it down, smoothing it out, and I'm going to seal it with the bit as well, just like I remember telling you guys how I used the brush to seal around, so that when I came in to seal it with the bit, it would definitely be a lot easier. And you're probably less likely to cut your client too. Be careful when you're doing this. Learn to get some confidence when you are doing your client. In the beginning, you're gonna mess up a lot. You're gonna probably cut your client. Just apologize. Don't overly apologize, because you're gonna make it seem like such a big deal, but try not to do that at all, basically. If it happens, it happens, and you move on with your life, you know. Take the L, take the embarrassment, because with anything, when you're doing something, there's gonna be a lot of fails, but guess what? You're gonna be able to master it to your best of your ability one day, and it's not going to be a big deal anymore. I've cut clients with the drill bits. I've nipped them. I've cut their sidewall with a file, but if I would have gave up because I was embarrassed, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. And you shouldn't give up either. But to continue, I'm just gonna do this for the rest of the nails. I'm gonna finish with fluffing. You'll see me do that, and you will see the end product. Well, you'll see me do the design because I do it on, I believe, 2 nails. But I did mess up the designs in the beginning, you guys. So don't think that because I've been doing nails for a long time that I know everything and I just automatically can draw whatever. No, I'm still in the learning process. Always feel like you're in the learning process. Because when I don't know how to do something, I'm honest. I tell them, like, I don't think I'm comfortable doing that. But more than likely, I feel like once you learn basic stuff, you start getting really good at it. And to clients, it looks very complex. And to you, it's going to seem like basic stuff to do. And you're not even going to be phased. In the beginning, everything's going to phase you. Doing Frenches properly, doing the designs properly, 3D art, whatever it is. But you guys, I am going to continue with the explanation of the other things for the rest of the video, but I do want to add, can you guys comment down what kind of videos do you think are missing for beginner nail techs online? What type of stuff would you rather see? Do you want me to do anything specific that you're having a hard time having trouble with? Do you have any questions with the nail business, how to get started, acrylic application, anything like that, or maybe taking your first nail client, anything like that? Comment down below and let me know what you guys need help with, because I'll be more than happy to put it up for you guys. I'm gonna start filming most of my clients so that you guys learn as much as possible. But here is me doing the design. I didn't practice the design the day before like I should have because I've never done this. But I'm also at the point in my career where I'm like, I could wing it and it'll probably be okay. It would have been easier if I just practiced the day before, at least for 10-15 minutes. As simple as this looks, but it's muscle memory. If you were to do it the night before, something you're not really usually used to doing, and you practice the night before, by the time the next day comes and you have your client, because I've done this so many times, you guys. I didn't know how to do something, I practiced the night before. When my client came, I don't know how. I wasn't that confident with myself in the beginning, but I would master it as to the best of my ability, and that's what's important. It's not always going to be perfect. I've done stuff where I'm like, ooh, that was ugly. What was I thinking? But I'm at the point where I'm a little bit more comfortable. I know what I can do, what I can't. I know how long it will take me, and I know what products to use and stuff like that. Like for this black, I'm using the black gel polish from Young Nails that comes in a little pod. And this brush I got from Amazon, I don't remember the brand, but I'm going to try to leave as much as possible if you guys are interested in what I used in the video, because a lot of the stuff, honestly, you guys, I get from Amazon. So by the time I went to the second nail, you guys, my muscle memory started working faster, as you can see. And I was basically working, like I said, a lot faster, because when you have the muscle memory, or aka you practice a lot, your brain just automatically knows what it's doing on autopilot. You're gonna learn to do Frenches on autopilot. You're gonna learn to do a lot of stuff, the shaping on autopilot, where you're not overthinking. So in the beginning it's stressful, but don't feel stressed, you guys. Things will become second nature to you the longer you do it. But that is all for today's video, guys. I finished off these nails with just adding a little diamond underneath the cuticle area, and I polished them, and that was it. I will show you the finished product. Voila. Thank you, guys. Have a great one. Until next time. Bye-bye.